All right, so good morning, everybody. Hope you enjoyed yesterday. If you were in class with me, I was encouraging everybody to go out and play and be what you've always wanted to be. But today, day after Halloween, something that I enjoy, we don't pay attention to it because it's not really a holiday per se, but it shows up on the calendar. It says it's All Saints Day, right? And it's actually, I think, also the Day of the Dead. So that's exciting too, if you have any ghosts that you wanted to connect with. But what I love about this idea is we go from Halloween, which in our minds we associate with everything that is scary, everything that is, behind the scenes, and everything that is a little bit dark or not our everyday experience. And then we go to the next day, which is the flip side, right? So if Halloween is the day for ghosts and ghouls and demons, then the next day following is what? All Saints Day, the day for everything to be elevated, the day for everything to find the saint that lives in you. So I have a story for you. So while you have your eyes closed, just start to cat-cow your spine while I tell you a story. And it's a pretty simple story, but the story is that there is a Brahmin. So that's one of the priests in the, Hindu society structures. The Brahmins are the priests. And he cares for a Shiva lingam, so a Shiva monument that is basically in the woods. And so he takes care of this monument or this altar, and there's a specific way that he's supposed to take care of it and make offerings and clean it and do all of these things. And so he does this regularly. But in this same forest, there's a hunter who comes along and he sees this monument and he doesn't know what it is, but he says, oh, this must be something important. This must be to some great deity. I want to leave an offering. But he's a hunter, so what does he do? He has, a fresh kill that he is carrying around with him, and so he bathes the altar in blood, makes his prayers, his offerings, and then he leaves. The Brahmin comes along, sees the altar is covered in blood, is like, oh my God, like who desecrated this altar? Who would do this? What a savage. Cleans everything, does, things the ritual way, leaves. Hunter comes along the next day, sees the altar again, and is like, oh, I'm back, makes another offering, bathes it in blood. You can see this goes on and on, right? The Brahmin comes back the next day, sees it's covered in blood again, and is like, oh my God, how is this happening? This is so terrible. Who would devastate, this monument to God this way? And so this happens again and again until one day the Brahmin finally is there, right? He's waiting. He's like, who is doing this? I have to find out who's doing this. So he's waiting and he sees the hunter come up, and the hunter makes his offering, starts covering the altar in blood, and the Brahmin jumps out and is like, what is wrong with you? Like, you're desecrating an altar. This is not the way that you do this. And the hunter's like, oh, sorry, like I didn't know. I thought it looked really important, and I just wanted to offer my prayers, my service. I wanted to offer myself. And so he's all upset, and the Brahmin's berating him. He says, you're doing it all wrong. And then Shiva appears, right? Shiva, the one who is our innate quality to see beyond the surface of everything, appears and says, no, he's got it right, the hunter. Says because his offering is pure. His offering is, he didn't know the rituals, but what he knew to do was to give everything that he had of himself, whatever he had, and it wasn't much. But he gave it with no thought of holding back. He gave it with no thought of there being a judgment to what's right or what's wrong. He just gave. And so a little lesson for the Brahmin that the teachings, right? What makes you a saint is not the external, how I am performing my life. But the saint that lives inside of you is the one that's able to just offer, even if you don't know the right way, even if you don't know what's the best thing, even if you have no idea what's good, quote unquote, is that you have the ability to offer. So All Saints Day, my thought for you is to start connecting to the saint that lives in you. And it might be the one that has no idea if you're doing it right, but you're connecting to that ability to give wholly of yourself to your life, 100%. Come back to stillness with your spine, please. Pause for a moment and just feel what it's like to come into stillness after moving. And feel your breath. And make an offering. I don't care if it's to a version of God. It can be an offering to your heart. It can be an offering to the world. It can be an offering to your dear departed grandmother. It can be an offering to anything that moves your heart. But internally, move the space of your heart. And then bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. So when we sound that sound of Om, is that you are resonating, you're vibrating that offering that you just made. You're vibrating that intention, that desire, that wish. Deep breath in. And then release the hands, please. Let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. Come forward to hands and knees. Find your way into downward facing dog. Good. Pedaling the feet just a little bit. Nice, you guys. And then letting the heels steady themselves towards the floor. Good. Right leg comes up and back behind you, down, dog split. Beautiful. And step that foot forward between the hands, lunge. Inhale the arms up to the sky, high lunge. Good. Take a hold of your right wrist with your left hand, pull to your left. Beautiful. So you're breathing through that whole right side body, and then come back up to center, please. Switch the hands and reach to your right. Now you're breathing through the whole left side of your body, all the way to that back heel. So breathe all the way through the length of your thigh. Good. And then come back up to center, please. Beautiful. Take your arms out wide, letter T, spinal twist. Turn your belly towards that front leg. Left hand comes forward, right hand comes back. Good. Squeeze into your navel, navel in. So you had it right, Mark, the other way. There you go. Good. And then lean forward, extend, almost like you're going to reach into triangle here. Reach, 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 but your front knee is bent. Kick that back thigh higher. Good. And then let that left hand touch down, please. Right arm to the sky. Beautiful. Squeezing into the navel, hugging the feet towards each other. Good. And then release that hand down to the floor, please. Both hands come inside the front foot. Start to make big circles with that right hip. Right? This idea that what moves your heart, right? What makes someone a saint is they tend to be drawn to doing these, great humanitarian actions or these actions that support the world. And that's what we admire in that concept. But why are they led to do that? Not because they, innately in their mind are like, this is always the right thing to do, but because their heart is so open. So if you want to look for that saint quality, it's how do you move your heart? Is what moves your heart in this world? And what do you hide your heart from? What's too painful? Come back to stillness, please. Nice job. Step your left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Parsvottanasana, so the feet are still separated, but take the legs to straight. Good. And then scoop into the low belly. Send that top of your right hip back and in. Shoot your left inner thigh wide. Draw it wide. Nice, you guys. I'm going back to some of the Buddhist literature because, why not? And there's a concept, right, bodhicitta, that they say is sort of that wellspring of energy that leads us to that open quality, or that leads us to that ability to really hold the whole world in compassion, hold ourselves in compassion. And the description that Pema Chodron gives for that is, she says, it's like the rawness of a broken heart, right? So if you felt that, you felt what it's like to be in that completely vulnerable state where you're like, I don't know what's right or what's wrong, but somehow this hurts. And it just hurts because it's so open. Instead of running from that, we're asked to actually seek that out. That where is the space that is so soft in you that your heart is moved? Not that you move it, but the heart is moved. Good. Bend that front knee, please. Step your left foot forward alongside the right, standing forward fold. Nice, you guys. Have your hands touching something. Bend your knees deeply like you're dropping into chair. Keep your fingertips on the floor or blocks, and then round into your back. Pull your belly off of your thighs, round. Good. Keep your knees pointing towards second toes. Drop your hips a little lower, Perry. Good. Nice. And then sweep the arms up alongside your ears, come into full chair. Keep that navel to your spine. Keep your hips low. Good. And then come all the way up to stand, please. Interlace your fingers, press heels of the hands up to the sky, rise up onto your tippy toes. Good. Pull the ribs in, pull the tops of the thighs up. Nice. And then keep the arms this way. Drop the heels, please. Bend your knees. So a soft landing. Drop back into chair. Keep pushing out through the arms. Good. And then release the hands down to the floor, fingertips on blocks or the floor, round into your back again. Pull your belly away from your thighs. Nice. Beautiful. Take the arms up alongside your ears, back to chair. Keep the hips low. Good. Come all the way up to stand, please. Interlace the fingers, press heels of the hands up, rise up onto the balls of your feet. Pull up through the inner edges of your legs and hug your outer shins. Good. Nice, nice, nice. And then heels touch down, please. Bend the knees again, dropping back into chair. Take the hands back behind you this time. Interlace the fingers at your low spine. Hug the upper arms towards each other. Good. And then pull through the crown of your head, pull back through your tail. Keep the elbows bent and just work those upper arms towards each other. Nice, Sarah. Drop your chin just a little bit. Good, you guys. Now start to straighten your legs. Drop your heart, drop your head. Forward fold, stretch the arms to straight if you'd like, or keep the elbows bent. Arms up and over any amount. Don't lose that connection of your hugging behind your heart. It's not just your arms squeezing. Good. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Beautiful. Step back, downward facing dog. Nicely done. Slide forward, plank pose, upward push up. Good. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Point the toes, rise up into cobra. Good. And then press back downward facing dog. Nice, you guys. Left leg up and back down, dog split. Step that foot forward between the hands. Inhale the arms to the sky, high lunge. Good. And then take hold of your left wrist with your right hand. Pull to your right. Nice. As you pull to the right, don't let your hips come with you. Keep them level. Keep them straight ahead. Good. And then come back up to center. Switch the hands and reach to your left. Good. And remember, these poses, these are offerings. So if you switch the way that you are doing things in the world from I'm performing to I'm making an offering, how does that change how your heart is represented, right? Maybe your heart is involved in what you're doing where before it wasn't. Come all the way back up to center. Good. Nice, you guys. Release the hands. Don't release the hands. Take the arms out wide, letter T. And then spinal twist, turn to your left. So your right hand is going to reach forward, left hand is going to reach back. Don't let that front knee fall in. So Diane, move your knee a little wider. Good. Yeah, hang on to it, Lena, you got it. Good. Now lean forward like you're going to reach through that whole side body, almost like you're reaching for a triangle. As you lean forward, kick your back thigh higher. Yeah, navel in, stretch into that lower spine. Nice, Alice. And then right hand touches down, left arm to the sky, spinal twist. Good, Perry. Nice, Heidi. Good, Carla. Good. Fall back onto that right hand a little bit more so your right shoulder, your right upper chest opens. Nice, Sandy. Good. And then release that hand down to the floor, please. Both hands inside the front foot. Make nice big circles with that hip. Nice. Finding the qualities of sainthood in you, or maybe even just trying to find that wellspring of having your heart being moved. Because if we start to get really protective of ourselves internally, we want to avoid those things that are emotionally painful, that are mentally bring up memories or things that are painful. We close in on ourselves, we isolate. Come back to stillness, please. Step that right foot forward just a little bit so both legs can come to straight. Parsvottanasana. Use blocks under the hands if you'd like. All Saints' Day, the day where you begin to see the saint in everyone. And it's not that they are acting perfectly yet, because maybe their sainthood is something that's not even meant for this lifetime. But you start to see that there's the quality of, the possibility of that in everyone, even if they have no idea what they're doing. You're like, you're doing it all wrong. Even if it's you that you're saying every day, you're doing it all wrong. So Shiva is that powerful place that's said to be our place of equanimity, but it's also the energy and the divine form that is accepting of all beings. Say Shiva's the scariest to look at, but he's the most compassionate. That's always the case. The gods that look like they are the scariest are the ones that are also said to be the kindest. Their hearts are the biggest. So the rawness of your own heart, can you get to that? Not just the sweetness, because we run to that. We want the sweetness of our heart when we're in love. We don't run to the rawness when our heart's been broken. So run to the rawness. This is a raw time in the world, right? A lot of broken heart energy. Good. Bend your left knee, please. Step your right foot forward, top of your mat. Take both legs to straight and bow. Good. Again, fingertips touching something. Bend your knees, drop your hips, round your back. So pull your belly away from your thighs. And as you do, you drop your hips a little lower. Keep those knees pointing at second toe. So there's that little widening of the knees, but there's the hugging of the shins. Good. Stretch your arms up alongside your ears, coming into that full chair pose. Good. Come up on the balls of your feet in chair. So lift the heels. Good. And then drop your butt lower. As your butt drops lower, your chest lifts higher. Good. Even if you do this with heels flat, drop your butt, lift your chest, like you're going to just bring your butt down to your heels. Really nice, Debbie. Good. Good, Harriet. Nice, Alice. Beautiful, you guys. Now the tough part. Bring your heels flat to the floor. Come all the way back up to stand. It's fun to hear you groan, hear people groan in person. Nice, you guys. Exhale, bow forward, bring the hands to the floor. I do miss hearing you complain in person. Good. Right foot steps back behind you, please. All the way back. Turn that heel flat, baby toe parallels the back of your mat. Cartwheel the arms up, warrior two. Good. Left forearm onto the front thigh, please. Take your right arm over the ear, side angle. Good. Again, opening the chest here. So you're stacking that right rib cage on top of the left. You're working to stack that right hip on top of the left. Beautiful. Really nice, Heidi. Nice, Sue. One more breath here, you guys. Getting a little bit lighter in yourself the longer you hold. Squeeze the feet towards each other. Keep that right arm over the ear. Take your left arm up off of your thigh and just stretch it straight in front of your chest. So not over the ear, but crisscrossing. Good. And then pull through that left arm so that you're really opening your chest even more. Yeah. Awesome, Marjorie. Nice, Mark. And then come all the way back up to warrior two. Geez, Louise. Straight in the front thigh. Good. Reach for triangle. Extend your ribs forward, forward, forward. Pause. Nice. And then extend forward a little more. There it is. And then let that hand touch down, front leg floor or block. Right arm to the sky. My daughter would have said it. Geez, Louise, macaroni and cheese. Her favorite food, macaroni and cheese. Nice, you guys. Draw that right rib cage back. You're opening your heart. Again, everything today is about you moving your heart and feeling what it's like to have your heart moved. So we do the external postures to free up our mind, to free up our body, the space, so that we're comfortable, so that we're willing to approach that rawness. But the postures themselves don't create that. Good. Bend the front knee, please. Release the hands down to the floor, both hands inside the front foot. Keep your back heel where it is. Good. Walk to your right just a little bit until you start to feel resistance. Keep your front knee pointing straight ahead. Squeeze that left butt cheek in towards the midline so your knee stays pointing at your second toe. You got it, Sue. Just walk a little more to your right. Good, you guys. Deep breath in. Bend your elbows, drop. Drop your chest. Thank you. Good. And then walk back towards the top of your mat, please. Spin your back heel up, snuggle that left shoulder inside your left knee and slide the left hand behind your heel. Wrap that arm around. Good. And then press forward with your shoulders, press your hips back, lift your butt. You got it. So both hands should be able to find the floor here. And then optional, right? Either stretch your arms out wide, letter T here, still with the arm underneath the knee, or go for the leg variation, lift your heel. Good. Press into the hands and take that left foot up off the floor. Yeah, you can't do both of those at the same time. So you got to choose one. Awesome. Slowly release whatever your variation was or wasn't. Come back, downward facing dog. Om Namah Shivaya. A mantra that says, I go back to that place of equanimity when the world is too much to handle. Even when it's not too much to handle, I realize that trying to handle it gets me stuck in my mind and removes me from the energy of my heart. So can you move yourself from your heart? Slide forward, plank pose, upward push-up. Lower down slow, coming through knees first if you need. Lucky for you, it's not so cold today. Yesterday I had them doing breath of fire and plank pose. Rise up, cobra. So you know what you are missing. Downward facing dog. Everyone who is doing it, I'm sure, is like, yeah, you missed something great. Every breath that you make is an offering, whether it's breath of fire or any other. Good. Right foot steps forward between the hands, please. Drop the back heel, baby toe parallels back of your mat, warrior two. Take the shoulders up over your hips, arms reaching straight out. So again here, can you start to find the space where you're not just reaching through your arms, but where you are connecting your arms to the back of your heart. So squeeze your shoulder blades together, feel that. Yep, squeeze them. And as you squeeze your shoulder blades together, maybe you also feel like your ribs pop out. So draw your ribs in. So now your ribs are hugging from the front and your shoulder blades are hugging from the back. And now stretch out through your fingertips. So the tops of your shoulders just relax. Good. And then maintain that right forearm onto your front thigh, left arm over the ear. Usually we come into side angle and immediately that arm that's holding us, shoulder hunches up towards our ears. And then our shoulders start to round forward. And then our ribs start to collapse forward. And before we know it, we're not breathing into anything because we've completely collapsed. So stay lifted. Open that left rib cage. Nice, you guys. Draw the top of that left thigh, your back thigh. Move it back in space so there's not a pushing forward. Good. And then squeeze the feet towards each other, please. Keep the left arm where it is. Float the right arm off of your leg. Reach for that crisscross position. So the right arm is reaching underneath you, straight out from your chest, like a beam, laser beam from your heart. And then twist that left rib cage open. Good. Nice, you guys. Come all the way back up, warrior two. Oh, nice breathing. Straighten the front thigh. Those of you who I can hear breathing. Reach for a triangle, please. Extend as long as you can. Good, and then pause. And then extend a little further. Good, and then let that right hand touch down, left arm to the sky. Nice. And still there's the connection of the arms that are reaching to the back of your heart, and from the back of your heart reaching out through your arms. Good. The connection that you have is how much is your heart involved in your day-to-day living? And how much do you repetitively run away from the things that cause you to touch that rawness? Right? Difficult conversations, difficult memories, challenging situations. It doesn't mean you have to run towards pain, but it's where you don't step away from what's happening inside of you. So externally, don't look for trouble, but internally, move your heart. Where you're hiding from, just get a little closer. Bend that front knee, please. Release both hands down to the floor, inside the front foot. Keep your back heel flat. Walk your hands to your left just a little bit until you start to feel resistance. Keep that right knee pointing towards the second toe. All right, so I'm talking to you about your heart while you're doing poses that are really big on your legs. Why? Because when we're doing really hard work, our minds get narrow, right? Because we're focusing and our heart goes away, right? Goes somewhere else. So can you keep your heart really present in the work that's hard? The things that are exhausting you. Good. Walk yourself back towards the top of your mat, please. Spin your back heel up. So your back heel is off the floor. Your left hip is facing forward. And then right shoulder comes inside the right knee. Slide that arm, right arm, behind your right heel. So you're wrapping the arm around the calf. Other way, Perry. There you go. Nope, you had it right. Inside. Good. Nope, inside. Perry, arm inside the knee. There you go. Yep. Chest forward, thighs back, hips back. And then optional, the arm variation is to stretch the arms out wide, airplane arms with the arm underneath you. Leg variation is to plant those hands, chaturanga arms, so a little bend. Good. And then lifting that right foot up off of the floor. You got to kick your back thigh higher as you do that. Good. Again, do not attempt both at the same time. Beautiful. Slowly unwind your variation, whatever you did or didn't do. Good. Downward facing dog. Nice, you guys. Deep breath in. And then slide forward to plank pose, upward push up. Lower down to your belly, please. And pause. Make a little pillow with your hands if you'd like, or turn one cheek to the side. What's also interesting that we usually forget is that at least in some traditions, that in order to be considered officially a saint, right? Catholic Church, in order to be considered a saint, you have to perform miracles. You have to have these big, extravagant things that happen in your life that are documented. We also forget that many of those individuals that we refer to as saints in history have had lives that are incredibly difficult and that have ended tragically in many cases. And so that's part of what we admire in them, is that they managed to maintain this attitude, even though their life kind of sucked. But then we look at ourselves and say, well, my life kind of sucks, and I'm just not even going to try, right? I'm not even going to reach for that. And that's fine. You don't have to attain that ultimate, big status. But if your heart is moved every day, that's the quality of a saint, is that your heart stays open. You don't have to do it extravagantly. So All Saints Day, the day when every one of us recognizes that we are a saint, maybe not realized yet. But it starts with, can I keep my heart open when it desperately wants to close? Good. Forehead to the floor, please. Stretch your arms, reaching back towards your feet. Point the toes, pressing down through the front of your pelvis, float your legs up off the floor, and then lift head, neck, and chest. Come into locust pose. Good. Floating the arms up as well. Nice. Alina, turn your palms facing down. Yeah, there you go. Good, you guys. Breathe. And bob like a little bird on the water. Nice. Nice, Susan S. Love it. Nice, Susan C. My Susans are really rocking the little bird on the water thing. Good. Deep breath in, lift everything, get wide. And then exhale, release. Awesome, you guys. Come up onto your forearms, please. Sphinx pose. Pressing down into the elbows, drag back, chest forward and up. Good. Then turn your right forearm parallel to the top of your mat, please. Bend your right knee, kick your heel in, bend your left knee, switch that. Bend your left knee, take your heel in towards your butt. Left hand reaches back for the foot of the ankle, quad stretch. And it doesn't work very well if the arm that's holding you, as I also tell it to reach back. Doesn't work. Keep your chest rising. Good. Don't hyper focus on how much you can pull that heel in towards your butt. Keep your thigh rooted and feel the stretch, feel the length of the front of your thigh as it reaches up into your pelvis, and the length of your pelvis as it reaches up into your belly, and the stretch of your belly as it rises up into your chest. Good. Again, this pose is about length. Awesome. Slowly release, please. Switch to the other side. So left forearm comes parallel to the top of your mat. Bend the right knee, reach back, right hand for the foot or the ankle. Keep that knee drawing down. Keep the thigh rooting down. And the back bending aspect of this is starting from the front of your pelvis. So as you're pushing into that left arm to support you, also draw your navel in. Also feel the front of your pelvic bones lifting forward and up. Good variation, Andrea. I like that. Good. And then slowly release back to Sphinx pose, please. Forearms underneath the shoulders. Tuck your toes, please. Look towards your belly button, round your back. And pushing into the arms, feel those shoulder blades start to engage. Feel those armpits start to squeeze towards each other. Good, knees to the floor, so you pop your inner thighs up first. So knees to the floor, pop your inner thighs up, and then pull the front of your pelvis and your lower ribs towards each other, so your upper abdominals are really engaged. Good, now just lift your knees, send your inner thighs to the sky, forearm plank. A little easier than that, flinging your hips up into the air and hoping, right? Good. And then start to walk your feet forward just a little bit. Lift your hips nice and high. Yeah. Lengthen from the back of your heart. Pull back. Awesome. And then drop the knees to the floor, please. Child's pose. Good job, you guys. Drop your hips to your heels. My daughter also, because of one of her Halloween songs she's been listening to, I assume, if this is not the reason, that I'm a little, more concerned. But when we've been playing at trick-or-treating, she insists that as soon as she gets the candy, she has to give it to the ghost. So I don't know who the ghost is. Sometimes I'm the ghost. But in her head, right? As soon as she gets the candy, and I love this, that she doesn't even think of keeping it for herself, and she immediately gives it away. You let your heart move you. Where does your heart want to keep giving? Even if it hasn't received what it wants, where does your heart want to keep giving? Good. Walk yourself back up to hands and knees, please. Take your right leg back and up behind you, in line with your hip. Walk your left arm forward, take your balance. Good. And then you're bending the right knee, kicking the heel in, reaching back for the foot or the ankle. Good. Kicking that foot back against your hand. But remember, the back bending of this starts from the front of your thigh. So lift that front edge of your pelvis. Keep your navel in. Nice, Linda. Beautiful. Slowly release, extend all the way back out. Arm and leg. Good. And then come back to hands and knees. Beautiful. Try the other side. Left leg comes back behind you. Right arm walks forward, balance. Nice. Bend the knee, kick your heel in, reach back for the foot or the ankle, or kick the hand behind your head if reaching for the ankle is just not a possibility today. Good. Kicking that foot into the hand, lifting the chest, heart up. Awesome, you guys. Extend back out. Nice. And then release back to hands and knees. Okay. So little variation. So the right leg is going to lift into that fire hydrant position. So your right knee is going to lift out to the side. So your knee is out in line straight with your hip, like a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. Lift up. Good. And then you're going to stretch your left arm out wide to the left, straight out from the shoulder. So that's your counterbalance. Good. Pull that right knee forward slightly towards your armpit. Lift the inner thigh a little higher. And then play with, maybe you straighten that leg. So straighten the right leg out to the right. Left arm extends to the left. Nice. Good, Harriet. Nice out. Good. Gosh, really good, you guys. Good, Joy. Come all the way back to center. Hands and knees. Ah, wiggle your hips. Good. I was saying earlier in the week, my teaching was on untethering yourself from what comes next. So not being in that direct storyline of I'm already prepared to be unhappy. I'm already prepared to be whatever I'm prepared to be inside. Instead, you stay in that raw state of I don't know what comes next. But when it gets there, can my heart stay open? Good. Come back to stillness. Try the other side. Left knee comes out and wide to that fire hydrant position. Good. And the right arm extends out wide, opposite way. So you got to find the balance. Good. And then bring that left knee slightly forward towards the armpit. That's it. Nice, Debbie. Lift that inner knee and then extend that left leg out wide. Good. Keep breathing. Keep your right rib cage up. I know. Good. And then slowly release. Really good, you guys. Seriously, good job, everybody. Good. Wiggle your hips. That was a lot of work. I know. You're nodding, Mark. That was a lot of work. Beautiful. And then come back to stillness, please. Good. Come into plank pose, tucking the toes, lifting the knees. Good. Take your feet together, please. Vasisthasana, right side, roll onto the right baby toe, right arm holds you, left arm to the sky. Good. And then optional here with that top leg, bend the knee, kick your heel back towards your butt, reach with the left hand to find the foot or the ankle. So the same quad stretch you've just done a couple of times, but now you're doing it in side plank. Nice, Sue. Sue S. Nice versions. Good, nice variations, you guys. Good, extend all the way back to plank, side plank, back to downward facing dog. Oh. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Good. And then slide forward back to plank pose. Other side, armpits over your wrist. Take the feet together. Left hand holds you. Right arm to the sky. You're turning onto the baby toe edge of the left foot. Good. Could you do this with your bottom knee on the floor? Absolutely. Good. Top knee bends. Kick your heel towards your butt. Reach back for the foot or the ankle. Also a great option to ignore the variation entirely, like what you're doing there, Diane. Good. Awesome. And then slowly release back to side plank. Do not collapse. Good, Barry. And then good, Dana. Come back to down dog. He collapsed. And then knees to the floor, child's pose. Oh. And the child's pose is not for you to lament what just happened. It's not for you to say, oh God, I'm so glad that's over. The child's pose is for you to feel, what did I give to that experience and what did I receive from it? And even if it was really hard and you're sure that you did a terrible job, can you feel your heart really open and say, at least I really was there. I was really present. Because that's what cultivates that sainthood in us, is the ability to really be present for what's happening, even if it's devastating and it's sad or it's difficult. We're sure we're doing it all wrong. The raw place of the broken heart. Good. Walk yourself back up, please. Downward facing dog. Good. Take the right leg up and back behind you. Down dog split, extend. Then bring that knee forward in wide pigeon pose. The right knee goes towards the right wrist. Heel crosses towards the opposite hip point. Yep, slide that left leg back. Beautiful. And then as you set your pelvis, again, squeezing that left hip slightly forward, right hip goes wider. Good. Keep that front foot awake. And then start to walk the hands forward. Find your resting pigeon. Again, if there is such a thing. Good. There's another story of one of the great sages, and off the top of my head, I can't remember his name at the moment. But he is, in one of his lifetimes, he comes across a great sage. He himself is a thief, and he's trying to rob this saint, this sage that's on the road. And somehow they get into this conversation while he's, trying to rob him, because the saint's like, well, I don't have anything. He's like, I'm an ascetic. Like, I don't have it. I don't have things. Like, you could have my shoes, I guess. And so he's like, the thief is like, whatever, keep it. What's the point? But they get to talking, and the saint or the sage is able to perceive this individual's future lifetimes. And he says, this lifetime, he says, you're a thief, and the next lifetime you're, also living a lifetime that's not so great, and the next lifetime is one that's also really difficult. He says, but the one after that, he says, you will be one of the greatest spiritual teachers. And the thief is like, okay, got it, nice to know. But the seed of that sainthood was already there, and it was why he was able to have this open conversation with the man that he had just tried to rob on the road, right? And of course, his reasons for being a thief was he's like, I've got a family to feed, and there's reasons. And one of his other lifetimes is that same thing would come up where he is a hunter and a bandit, and so his life is murdering and killing, and it's brought to his attention that, hey, like, you're the one who has to bear this suffering. Is it worth it? And he decides that no, it's not. Turns his life in a different direction. That's the life where he becomes a saint. It's also the life where he's a murderer. So what moves your heart? And where can you see the saint in you, even if you think you're making a mess? Walk yourself back up. Good. I know all the people in the room here where you guys are like, you come out of the pose when you feel like it. Everyone who's in the room is trying really hard to stay in it. Lift that back knee, please. Stay with the front knee in pigeon, but lift your back knee up. Good. If you're on the floor, you can just hang out for another breath, but lift that back knee so that you get that stretch through the back thigh. Good. And then lift the hips, please. Come all the way back, downward facing dog. We're coming into pigeon on the other side. So if you're doing pigeon on your back and you want to just switch to that side, you can. Good. And then as you're ready, again, if you need a vinyasa, take it. Otherwise, left leg to the sky. Good. And then bring the knee forward and wide, finding pigeon on the other side. Sliding the right leg back, but still setting your pelvic bone, setting your hips to be level with each other. So we want that long extension on the back thigh, but we still want the right hip to be moving slightly forward in space so that your front hip, your left hip, is able to go wider. So it makes room for the left thigh to rotate. Good. And then once you found that, again, active front foot, walk yourself forward, find your resting pigeon. I try and think of more stories to tell you. You don't mind pigeons so much if I'm telling you stories, I know. Another story similar to the one I just told from the Buddhist tradition. I see the Buddha is walking through the forest and he comes across this band of bandits. And the leader, he's taken to their leader. And the leader is excited because he says, he's got this goal where he wants to, murder 1,000 people or something like that, some ridiculous number. And he says, you're going to be my last one. He says, you're my 1,000th person that I'm going to kill. Lucky you. And the Buddha's like, okay, right? Because that's the Buddhist attitude is, this life is whatever, I'm not attached to it. So if I can offer it, if it's going to be of benefit to you, sure. So he says, you can have anything that I have, including my life, go ahead. And so completely without fear, he's facing this individual who's threatening him with violence, threatening him with death, and laughing about it, excited that he's going to, increase the suffering of the world. And the Buddha is just completely at peace and completely still in that loving space of saying, all right, if this is going to serve you, you can have it. Take my life. Absolutely. And that unshakableness of him causes the bandit to stop for a moment. And he's like, wait, this isn't the way this usually goes. Why aren't you begging for your life? Why aren't you crying? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? I don't understand. The Buddha tries to explain to him that, well, if you want my life, then you can have it, right? That's not the meaning of my existence is, this physical embodiment is not the meaning. And something in the Buddha's attitude shifts the bandit from that place of wanting to create violence and saying, I have to understand how you can be this way in the world. I have to understand how you can be this way in front of someone like me. Shifts him. He becomes one of the greatest Buddhist teachers, that bandit who was ready to kill their 1,000th person. And part of what we're meant to understand from these stories, whether they are factually true or not, is that it doesn't matter how far you think you've gone in the wrong direction. The quality of the saint, if it lives in you, and it does. You can always turn to it. But it means you have to face that moment of the broken heart. You have to face the place where you've been protecting yourself from pain. And pain that's in your own life and pain that's in the life of the world around you. Slowly walk yourself back up, please. Good. So up on the hands, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, pause for a moment so you're still in pigeon, but you lift the back knee so you get that big stretch on the front of your thigh. Good. So toes on the floor, Perry, lift your knee up. There you go. Yep. Beautiful, you guys. And then go ahead and lift the hips all the way. Take the left leg back down, dog split, or back to down dog. Beautiful. Nice, you guys. And then looking forward between the hands, step or jump to the top of your mat. Good. Separate your feet nice and wide. Turn the toes out 45 degrees. Bend the knees, squat. You're coming down to sit. So if you're already on your butt, just stay where you are. Good. Feel yourself stretching, drawing the hips down, lifting the heart up. Awesome. And then take the hips down to the floor, please. Come down to sit. Nice job. Good. Stretch your legs out wide. Wide straddle. Good. And then turn your belly over the right thigh. So one hand on either side of that thigh. Turn your belly. And then walk yourself straight ahead. Fold over the right leg. Good. Keep your left hip anchored down to the floor. Good. So really turning from your trunk. So Sarah, turn from that left hip a little more. Dana, turn from the left hip a little more. Super frustrating having people close enough for me to touch and not to be touching them. Makes my hands itch. Good. Same thing happens when I'm looking at you guys. You know, I wish that I could just reach through the screen and, you know, tweak what you're doing. Good. Walk yourself back up to center. Turn your belly to the left, please, over the left thigh. And then start to walk forward. Nice. So Lisa P, turning from your waist a little more. Really turn the ribs. Unless it's just the angle I can't see. Good, you guys. Take nothing for granted. In my mind, I think of this pose as one that I've always taken for granted because you grow up a dancer, you do, you know, straddle splits all day, every day. Not a big deal. It's only in yoga that I started taking stretching seriously. What it feels like to actually be in your body while things are adjusting. Take nothing for granted because everything you experience is teaching you what it's like to be here in your body, in your mind, in the world. And if you constantly escape from that, and constantly shut down that energy of the heart that wants to be connected, come back up to center, please. Good. Bring your hands straight in front of you, please. Bend your knees a little bit. Have them doing this in class on Wednesday. So I want you to lean back just a little bit, give yourself some momentum, and then push into your hands, scoop your belly, lift your butt up off the floor in your straddle. So hands to the floor, lift your butt up. Yep.
Ow.
Ow. That's a good variation, Debbie. Not the way I intended, but okay. Good. So the idea, right, if you're pretty comfortable with that, if you can lift your butt, is that you're looking to lift your whole legs off the floor. So you're hovering in that wide straddle. Yeah. Work at it. So hands in front of you, Perry. I know. Super hard, right?
Yes.
Good. All right. Let that go. I can do it. Maybe. Bend your knees, please. Bring the bottoms of the feet together. Take your Baddha Konasana, forward fold. tell you, you grow up a dancer and an acrobat, you take a lot of physical things for granted because they're second nature, right? But growing up that way, you also often don't know, you don't have a conscious acknowledgement of how you do any of the things that you do. Your body's just been trained to do it. The beauty of a yoga practice is that we're encouraged to look at what your body is doing and to understand what's unfolding, to pay attention to it. So it's not something that you say, oh, I don't know. It just happens. My life just happens. Instead, you're really present for it. Come all the way back up, please. So if you have a blanket underneath you, take it out from underneath you so that you can feel your sit bones. And then reach for your ankles, bring your knees up so that you are balancing on your sit bones, holding your ankles or your feet. And balance in Baddha Konasana. You're like, this I can do. Yeah. And then if you feel pretty good there, go ahead, take your legs straight out wide to that big straddle again, holding the feet. Yeah, balancing on your sit bones. Nice. And then if you feel pretty good there and you can hold the legs there, stretch your arms up alongside your ears. Nice. And then if you feel pretty good there and your hands are up, take your hands to the floor in front of you, use that momentum, scoop your belly, roll forward, come up and lift your butt. Yeah, you got it, Alice. One of us did it. We all did it. Almost there, Heidi. Lisa P, you got it. Nice. Good, Joy. Awesome. You good, Perry. There you go. Come all the way back down. Bring the bottoms of the feet back together. Nice job. Stretch your legs out in front of you. See how I tricked you? I tricked you. Inhale the arms up to the sky. I have to say, you're a little trickier to trick than a 2.5-year-old. So thanks for challenging me. Bow forward. Good. Right? Your practice progresses not just because your body is able to do this, that, or the other thing. Your practice progresses because your heart stays open. It says, I can play with movement that maybe doesn't make any sense to me and has no real physical purpose in my life, but I can play with it because my body might be able to do it. And what unfolds in me is openness. So don't worry about if you thought you did that all wrong or if it was a mess. It's not important. Walk yourself back up, please. Good. Scoot forward, please. Come onto your backs. Good. Little opportunity here for shoulder stand. So if you are interested in shoulder stand, you take your legs up overhead. If you're not doing full shoulder stand today, a block underneath your seat with your legs up to the sky, great variation, or even block under your seat in bridge pose, another great option. If you're coming into that full shoulder stand, make sure you set the arms well. You're hugging that space behind the heart. And then as you lift the legs up, you're scooping through your belly. So it's really that internal core that is lifting your legs. Nice, Lena. Good. Nice. Good, Debbie. You're looking for that sense of vertical. So whatever position you are in, obviously if you have a block underneath you, that's going to determine the angle of your spine. But if you are in a full shoulder stand variation, is you're looking for that sense of vertical where your hips are coming high over your shoulders and you're rooting down through the top ridge of the shoulder. So we have to have that pushing down. If we don't, then all of the weight of our legs is just crashing down onto our upper spine. So you have to have that feeling that you are lifting your spine, you're lifting your hips. Good. Nice, you guys. And those of you who are in full shoulder stand, and even if you're not, if you have a block underneath you, you can still play, right? Is to take the legs out wide to that straddle position again. Oh. Yeah, I got to keep your hips lifted. Nice, Mark. Nice, Harriet. Nice, Heidi. Good. And then if you're in that full straddle and full shoulder stand, you want to take your toes to the floor like you're in plow, but your legs are very wide. Go for that. Good. Or bring the legs together for plow. That works too. Beautiful. And then start to, again, depending on the comfort of your inverting, either bring the legs back together to bring them back up to shoulder stand, or lift the legs into that straddle again, and then bring the inner thighs back together to full shoulder stand, legs overhead. Again, it's a more complicated way of working with the legs. So if the back is not approving, pay attention. Good. Nice, you guys. Definitely bonus points if you're doing this with a cat. So I think Joy's winning because she's got her cat on her. One more deep breath. And slowly begin to release your pose. If you're in full shoulder stand, rolling down the spine one vertebra at a time, bending the knees in towards the chest, soft landing. If you have a block underneath you, bring the feet back down to the floor, remove the block. Pause with the feet flat, knees bent. Good. And then keeping the knees bent, the feet planted, take your arms alongside you into robot arms. So bend the elbows alongside your ribs, press down into the arms. Coming into fish pose with the knees bent. So those groins draw down, tops of thighs draw down. Press into the upper arms, start to squeeze that place behind your heart. Squeeze those armpits, lift your chest up into fish. Top of the head starts to come to the floor. If it feels like it's not as easy to come into fish in this position, I don't feel bad for you. Because I want you to really work through your back. So keep your butt on the floor. Butt stays on the floor. Work that round, that arch and expansion of the chest and the upper back. Even if it feels more restricted, do it, because this is teaching you, how do I use my back to come into fish and not cheat and use just my arms? Good. And then slowly release, unwind the spine. Nice breaths, you guys. Pause. Good. And then go ahead, stretch the legs straight out in front of you. You're coming back into fish, but this time in the way maybe you're used to, with the legs straight. Still, toes pointed or feet flexed. So you want the legs really engaged, butt stays on the floor. You can have your arms in robot arms still, or take the arms flat alongside you, palms facing down. Here's where you can slide the arms close to your ribs, hands under your butt. And then with your arms in that position, butt still pushes down, engage the legs. You can bend your elbows, lift the chest, rise up into fish. But watch how much you are finding your back bend from just using your arms. Keep the back really awake. For those of you who are super comfortable in fish and you feel well supported here, if you would like to lift the legs up off the floor so that you are balancing on your sit bones, go for it. Nice. Good, Heidi, good, Sue. If the back protests that, put the legs down. Nice, Susan. Deep breath in. And then release the legs to the floor if they're lifted. Good, slowly release the upper spine. Ah, nice exhales, you guys. It is nice to hear people breathing. Release the arms. Beautiful. Draw the knees in towards the chest, please. Good. Cross your right thigh over your left, wrapping the inner thighs and outer shins for eagle. So you're wrapping the legs. Good. Left arm up crosses over top of right in front of your chest. So eagle pose on your back. Feel your lower spine. So move your knees slightly away from your belly so that you can feel your whole lower back. Shins are paralleling the floor. Good. And hug the forearms. Feel your armpits draw down towards the floor. So the whole upper back is wide. Lower spine is wide. Good. And then as you exhale, bring your knees and elbows towards each other. You can lift the shoulders slightly if you'd like. Squeeze round your back. That's it. Nice, Perry. And then slowly release. Good, you guys. Hug the knees in towards your chest. And then go to the other side. Left thigh crosses over top of right, wrapping the inner thighs and outer shins. So Dana, don't double wrap yet, just squeeze that way. And then the right arm comes over top of left in front of your chest. And again, shins are parallel to the floor, knees slightly forward over your hips. Good. Don't let your hands fall onto your face. And Sarah, maybe let go of the gripping of your fingers. There you go. Good. Linda, try and squeeze your shins towards each other a little more. Good, you guys. Find your upper back, find your lower back. Good. And then an exhale, bring the elbows and knees together, round your back squeeze. And then slowly release, unwinding, hugging the knees in towards the chest. Good. And then scoot your hips over to the left, please. Drop your knees to the right, spinal twist. Take nothing for granted. Spinal twist that you say, oh, it's just what we do before Shavasana. No, this is your moment. It's your moment to feel if the heart is still open. Come back to center, please. Scoot your hips over to the right. Drop your knees to the left. All right, every posture, every action, make it an offering. It's moving from a place in your heart. So even if you don't know the meaning of the pose, you don't know what it's supposed to be doing or what its benefit is, as long as you're here in this moment, what is your heart giving? What kind of attention? What kind of openness is there? That's the real practice. How much can you untether from your mind so that your heart can just be the voice that you hear? A wellspring of friendliness and compassion, bodhicitta, rawness of a broken heart. Come back to center, please. Squeezing the knees in towards the chest, hug, hug, hug. Come into happy baby, draw your knees wide, reach for the ankles or the feet. Good, again, finding the lower back. And then slowly bringing the knees back together. One final hug. And then extend the legs out in front of you. Finding your Shavasana. Pose where maybe you untether yourself completely. gently bring the awareness back to your breath. Letting the body begin to stretch and move in whatever ways serve it well. As you're ready, draw the knees in towards your chest and roll to your right side. Taking a moment before you begin to push the floor away, come back to an upright seated position. Bring the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm, or again using whatever mudra has been serving you well. So I love this transition from Halloween, the night that is dedicated to the darkest, scariest things that we can conjure up, our own fears, transitions into a day where we are asked to remember that there is that quality of the saint, the brightest light that lives even within that darkness. And so the stories that we have of those great teachers that started out as disasters, started out as lives that were difficult and challenging and maybe even ended that way too, is a reminder to us that the path that you're on is not one of darkness or light, but that you're on a path of understanding what moves your heart. And if your heart is able to be moved, and if you're able to live your life from that space of an open heart, then whatever darkness is there, you will keep bringing light to it. And so we're in this raw time of life. We're in this raw time in the world. Broken heart. We're living in the middle of it. So can you stay very open, untether yourself from the story of this is what scares me or this is what I feel from yesterday. And instead, can you go to that raw place that says, I don't know what comes next, but I'm going to meet it with an openness that allows me to stay connected and that allows me to keep building that sense of the saint that lives in me. And maybe it's not perfect in this lifetime, but I can keep reaching for that. And if my heart can continue to be moved, I can keep moving from my heart. And the life that I live is one that is spiritually full. And as long as it's spiritually full, everything else will take care of itself. So we go to that. Can you go to that raw place of your heart and realize that it's in that rawness that the saint that you can be, saint that you are, lives? So don't turn away from it. Stay with it. Be from your heart center. Start today. Close with the sound of Om. Deep breath in. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you guys who are here breathing with me. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. Till we see you again. Yeah, I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. If you have anything to say to me, you have to unmute yourselves. Thanks,
Thank
Veronica.
you.
You're welcome.
Bye, thanks.
You're welcome. Don't forget meditation. We start at 11. So if you want to stay on, you can stay on for that or come off, come back on. And I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You're
Veronica.
welcome.
That was amazing.
Yay, yay, yay.
Thank you. That was great.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Good,
guys.
good.
Bye-bye.